Hey everyone, it's Cory with the Unlocking Doors podcast, and I'm here with my co host, Michelle Castle. Today, we are going to tell you what you can do to avoid being scammed if you're going through a real estate transaction and just some best practices to make
Mm,
sure that your personal information isn't
abs-
easily accessible.
mm.
Michelle, can you give us a breakdown of what it looks like when someone's going through a real estate transaction and how they could possibly get scammed with wire fraud or giving up their personal
That's
information?
such a biggie right now.
Yeah.
Well, let's even back up.
Okay.
Let's start as simple as just the transfer of data by email.
Yeah.
When you're in the middle of a transaction, you got to keep in mind, like, do you really want this information on a billboard?
Right.
And really think of it that way. So, emailing back and forth conversations, perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
I would even leave out when you're emailing back and forth any first, middle, and last name of
Mm-hmm.
somebody because you wouldn't normally use that in a conversation. And the reason I say that is because scammers are just so good and they can hack into all of the common email servers
Right.
and they have triggers that they're looking for. So if common language is not a formal name,
Mm-hmm.
that could be a trigger that somebody set to, hey, pay attention to this email conversation that's going on.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised how many people will even email to us as a mortgage company pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns as attachments.
Without any of their like social
No,
security account numbers, any of
nothing
that
blacked
redacted.
out,
Yeah.
blanked out, and no password set.
Yeah.
And it's I can't block it once I've received it, and I'm a secured line.
Right.
But I'm a financial institution and we are constantly, daily updating our security. Those common email servers are not.
Right.
And so home buyers are a target.
Right.
You increase your chances of being someone's target by those things.
Right.
Putting that information into an email. The reason I wanted to have this as an actual episode is because not only do you have to worry about people stealing your identity, which is terrible,
Right.
and one way to prevent that is to go ahead and put a lock on your social security number through the credit bureaus. When you go to apply for a loan, yes, you may have the hassle of having to unlock it
Mm-hmm.
just for us to pull a credit report, but you can put that lock back on there so you don't have to worry about that. The other thing that I think that is really important is opting out. And you can go to the National Opt Out website before you even apply for a mortgage loan and go ahead and opt out so that you're not a target for people.
Right.
So, those two things right there are two things that you can do for preventative. And then during a home buying transaction, just be careful about what you put in an email.
Yeah.
And then we'll
Absolutely.
talk about wire fraud
Yeah.
because
Okay.
that's like going down a really dark hole.
Yeah. And so with wire fraud, what we typically hear about is, and it's usually on the end of the title company, not that the title company is the one that's at fault, but
Right.
once again,
That's the
some,
largest part of the transaction is
yeah,
at the title company.
somehow these scammers, hackers
Mhm.
intercept an email from the
Mhm.
buyer to the title company or whatever. I'm not even sure how it works. Phishing scams or
There's phishing and then they
yeah,
place malware on the computer.
yeah. And so they'll, then they'll see the email signature, if they're replying to an email and sending it back to the title company,
Mm-hmm.
they'll try and copy the email
Mm-hmm.
signature. They'll create like a mask over the actual email address that the message is
Mm-hmm.
coming from. And
Mm-hmm.
so when they send their email, it looks like it's from the title company,
Mm-hmm.
but it may have something like every title company you work with will say, beware of wire fraud. That's always in their signature.
Mm-hmm.
But these scammers will take that out and send a consumer an email back that says, here's your wiring instructions, wire us your down payment. And they'll take that one line out that says, beware of wire fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what to look for, and this is why, anytime I have somebody who's buying or selling, I say, give the escrow officer your information
Mm-hmm.
at closing. Or if you
Mm-hmm.
need to send a wire for your down payment,
Mm-hmm.
like here's the number to call. Don't call something that you found in an email signature.
Yeah.
Like let's verify that we're talking to the right person and have them verify the wiring
Yeah,
instructions.
and don't ask for their phone number because it was already on the original email because they may reply with a fake phone number.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that is really important too is that we just slow down and even look, like if you put your mouse over the from, a lot of times you'll even
Yes.
see that there's like just one letter off.
Yeah.
Like instead of a B, they might have a 6 or
Yeah.
something, just
Yeah.
encrypting. So at
Or it's
glance, it looks like the same email address, but it's not.
yeah, or it could be, instead of it being like Cory@themillsteam.com, which is my email, it could be like
Ooh, we're going to scam you.
CoryMeals@gmail.com,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
it's coming from the
It
name
looks
looks right,
legit.
but it's from Gmail and it's not from our
Mm-hmm.
domain.
Yeah.
So that's something that you really have to pay attention to. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
hover over the sender's email address
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that it is a legitimate email.
Yeah. So because we promised stories, I'll share a couple of stories.
Yeah, yeah.
So we had a transaction that closed back this summer, and we had notification that there hadn't been a payment made on this account. And it had a payoff request, but still no payment made, and it hadn't been paid off. And this, it had been like 30 days, and we still hadn't received anything. And this was an account that they normally paid their bills, so it wasn't anything that was flagged. Well, what ended up happening, they sold their house
Right.
and they closed at a title company a month before that. And the title company wired funds incorrectly. They
Yeah.
didn't call it a verify. So the whole security behind calling whoever sent the wiring instructions and verifying the wiring instructions, it goes, all of us have to do our due diligence.
Yes.
Of course, the title company made it right. They did all the right things, but it was just sad because another scammer won
Yeah.
over just not picking up the phone and making the phone call. It wasn't anybody local, so don't be asking who it was because it
Yeah.
wasn't anybody around here. And I've seen that with buyers.
Right.
They go to the title company and the title company asks for the cashier's check. And they're like, well, we wired funds. And title company's like, we don't have funds. We didn't receive
Right.
funds.
And that's like their life savings that they've wired to
Yeah.
who knows.
Oh, it's
where.
happened. It's happened at closings multiple times that I've
Yeah.
been at. And it is the saddest, hardest thing to deal with.
Right.
What do? You can't, all you can do is file with the FBI. But once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Not often can they recover those funds.
Yeah.
So you just have to be careful.
Yeah. And that's why I am extremely diligent about making sure our clients know, don't just send money, like verify where it's going. And
Absolutely.
maybe even double verify. Like
Double verify,
check.
yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
one thing to call the person that sent you the wiring instructions, but then maybe also like ask your agent, hey, is this the right number that I was supposed to call? Is this a fake number? Like there's going to be some kind of trigger that says, hey, something's not right here. And if something
Just
doesn't,
slow down.
yeah, if something seems off, it probably is. And it's not
Yeah.
it's not worth gambling and being like, I'm sure it's okay. Like yeah.
Which is why I think that it's so important that you work with a realtor that you can get a hold of who will answer the phone and answer those questions.
Yeah.
Because, you may be in a hurry to get that wire sent and you need an answer right away.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
hiring someone somewhere that's just a cheap service, you're saving a little money, might cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
On the mortgage side, sometimes it's a lot of hassle. And I know you've been through this with properties that you've purchased.
Right.
Uploading documentation directly to the lender's website is a procedure for a reason.
Right.
And it's for safety reasons. And so sometimes it's a hassle. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes, you've got to worry about passwords and remembering passwords, but it's for everybody's protection.
Right.
Just be careful. Just slow down.
It could happen to anyone.
It could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
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 So,
anyways, we just wanted to do this episode talking about wire fraud, scams, and just things to look out for when you're going through a real estate transaction. If something seems off, just verify and double check on it. And thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Unlocking Doors podcast. Be sure and subscribe to our channel, share this with a friend, and we will catch you on the next episode.